Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, Donald Trump defeats Nikki Haley in high-stakes New Hampshire. Haley vows to fight on. NATO chief welcomes Turkish approval of Sweden's NATO membership bid after 20 months delay. Hungary's approval still needed to enlarge the Western bloc. UK to continue to degrade Houthis' capability as 24 nations conduct strikes in Yemen. UN chief says de-escalation in Yemen is essential and attack on ships must end immediately. And in sports, Indian women's team to face Poland in the inaugural edition of the FIH Hockey 5S Women's World Cup in Muscat on Wednesday. Donald Trump cruised to victory in New Hampshire Republican presidential contest on Tuesday, defeating his only remaining rival, Nikki Haley. First Iowa, and now with this win, Trump has marched closer to the November rematch. Trump won 54% votes, while Nikki Haley grabbed 44%. However, Haley is not yet ready to concede. Delivering remarks from Concord soon after voting, she said the race is far from over. She had finished third in the Iowa primary.
New Hampshire is first in the nation. It is not the last in the nation. This race is far from over. There are dozens of states left to go. And now we're the last one standing next to Donald Trump. And today we got close to half of the vote. We still have a ways to go, but we keep moving up.
While at his own party in Nashua, Trump opened his speech by mocking Haley, saying she made the speech like she won.
You know, we won New Hampshire 3 times now, three. We win it every time. We win the primary, we win the generals, we've won it. And just a little note to Nikki, she's not going to win.
Economy, migration, fentanyl crisis are some of the top concerns of voters in the elections this year. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris held an abortion rights rally in Virginia on Tuesday, but Biden was repeatedly interrupted by protesters opposed to his support for Israel in its conflict with Hamas in Gaza. Demonstrators shouting, "Genocide, Joe has to go," interrupted the Democrat at least 10 times during a rally in Virginia, the first campaign event of 2024. Joe Biden, in addition to focusing on abortion, has cast Trump as a would-be dictator and a threat to democracy. Turkey's parliament approved Sweden's NATO membership bid on Tuesday, following more than 4 hours of debate. Lawmakers voted 287 in favor and 55 against, clearing a last major hurdle to expanding the Western military alliance after 20 months of delay. Erdogan will sign the bill into law, likely in the coming days. Hungary remains the only NATO member yet to ratify Stockholm's accession. President Erdogan's ruling AK party, its nationalist MHP allies, and the main opposition CHP voted in favor of the bid in General Assembly, while opposition nationalist, Islamist, and leftist parties voted against it. The U.S. military carried out more strikes in Yemen early on Wednesday, destroying 2 Houthi anti-ship missiles that were aimed at the Red Sea and were preparing to launch. The recent strikes followed a larger round of strikes carried out by 24 countries on Monday against 8 targets. The strikes carried out with support of 24 countries, including Australia, Germany, Bahrain, Canada, and the Netherlands, were designed to disrupt and degrade the capability of the Houthis to continue their attacks. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said initial evidence from Monday's strikes showed all intended targets were destroyed. The Pentagon also said that over 25 Houthi missile launch facilities and more than 20 missiles in Yemen have been destroyed so far. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has urged countries to avoid an escalation in the situation in the Red Sea, where Houthis in Yemen have been attacking commercial vessels amid the ongoing conflict in Gaza. In a statement, the Secretary General said, and I quote, "The situation in the Red Sea is also deeply worrying. Houthi attacks are disrupting global trade. These have been followed by airstrikes by the United States and the United Kingdom on Houthi positions in Yemen. De-escalation is essential, and all attacks on merchant and commercial vessels in the Red Sea must cease immediately." The risks of broader regional escalation are now becoming a reality. Turning to the north, Israeli government spokesperson Eylon Levy said that Israel will not agree to a ceasefire deal with Hamas. He added that efforts were ongoing to bring about the release of hostages, but declined to elaborate, saying lives were hanging in the balance.
The goals of this war, as laid out by the War Cabinet after the October 7th massacre and handed down to the IDF, remain unchanged. The destruction of Hamas's governing and military capabilities in the Gaza Strip and the return of all the hostages. There will be no ceasefire that leaves the hostages in Gaza and Hamas in power. Beyond that, we have nothing to elaborate.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Tuesday that Israel would push on with fighting in Gaza until absolute victory, despite suffering one of its toughest days of the military offensive. He said the military was investigating the tragedy in which 21 soldiers were killed when buildings exploded in central Gaza, bringing the single-day Israeli death toll to 24. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres appealed for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. On Tuesday, UN chief said that humanitarian situation in the Palestinian enclave was appalling and that the people of Gaza not only risk being killed or injured by relentless bombardments, they also run a growing chance of contracting infectious diseases like hepatitis A, dysentery and cholera. U.S. Middle East envoy Brett McGurk to travel in the region for active discussions on ensuring the release of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza and securing a humanitarian pause. White House spokesperson John Kirby said the U.S. would support a longer humanitarian pause in combat in Gaza to ensure hostages could be released and aid brought in. British Foreign Secretary David Cameron will travel to Israel on Wednesday, where he's expected to raise concerns over Israel and Gaza conflict. Cameron's trip, which will include visits to the West Bank and to Qatar and Turkey, is his third to the Middle East in just over 2 months. Let's shift focus to Russia-Ukraine war now. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russian missiles hit Ukraine's 2 largest cities, killing 18 people and injuring more than 130. A wave of Russian missiles hit Ukraine's 2 largest cities on Tuesday. There were strikes on Kyiv and in central Ukraine and the southern region of Kherson, subject to constant shelling. More than 200 sites were hit, including 139 dwellings, with many deaths in an ordinary high-rise apartment building. Ordinary people lived there, he said. Kharkiv Regional Governor Ole Sinubov said that 100 high-rise blocks had been damaged in the first 2 attacks. There were 3 hits in the evening on an apartment block and other infrastructure.
Regarding the Russian attack in the morning, almost 40 missiles of different types, another combined strike to try and bypass our air defense system. A significant portion of missiles were shot down. Unfortunately, there are hits. More than 200 different objects were damaged. 139 houses only, ordinary houses. 130 people were injured or traumatized. All of them are provided with the necessary assistance. Unfortunately, 18 people lost their lives. My condolences to the family and friends. And this number of dead may still increase. In particular, a rescue operation is still ongoing in Kharkiv. The rubble of the building is being searched. An ordinary high-rise building, ordinary people live there.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen reassured Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal on Tuesday that the Biden administration was committed to securing $11.8 billion in budget support to Kyiv as part of a supplemental U.S. funding request. In the statement, the Treasury Secretary said providing financial support to Ukraine will help Ukraine win the war and advance U.S. national security interests globally. Yellen added that it also demonstrates the resolve of the U.S. and its allies to defend the territorial sovereignty and freedom of democratic countries. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Tuesday pledged $45 million in additional financing to help fight conflict and bring stability to coastal West Africa. Blinken is on the second stop of a four-nation tour of Africa, taking him to Cape Verde, Ivory Coast, Nigeria and Angola from January 21st to 26th. Blinken, who is visiting Nigeria as part of an African tour to strengthen bilateral relations, said the U.S. will continue to support Nigeria and other regional partners. Blinken also discussed challenges to democracy and security in the region during his meeting with Nigerian President Bola Tinubu in the first inner visit that in fact comes after last year's coup in neighboring Niger.
On security, which we also discussed at some length, the United States is determined to be and remain a strong security partner for Nigeria. I want to extend the condolences of the American people to all Nigerians who were affected by the horrific attacks over the Christmas weekend. We mourn their loss and all killed in recent attacks, including, by the way, staff from our United States mission, locally employed staff and 4 police officers who were killed in Anambra last May. As I told the President and the Foreign Minister, the United States will support Nigeria as it works to bring about a more secure, a more peaceful, and a more prosperous future for its people.
In the latest sign of heightened tensions on the Korean peninsula, North Korea fired multiple cruise missiles towards the sea off its west coast on Wednesday. South Korea's Joint Chief of Staff said the missiles were fired at around 2200 GMT on Tuesday, and the launches were being analyzed by South Korean and U.S. intelligence. It added that further activities by the North were being monitored. The latest firing of missiles by Pyongyang comes as South Korea Navy's Special Warfare Unit was taking part in training along the east coast in Gangwon province, bordering the north for 10 days. Over 100 Guatemalan migrants deported by the U.S. arrived at Guatemala City on Tuesday. The deported migrants, including 17 families and single adults, arrived at Aurora Airport in Guatemala City on a flight chartered by the U.S. government. This latest group of deportees is part of increasing deportations involving migrants from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Colombia and Venezuela. Many migrants in the United States flee their home countries due to economic hardship, violence and political instability. Ahead of the 2024 general elections, Pakistan People's Party chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari said that he will not seek political retribution from opponents if elected Prime Minister. Addressing a public gathering in Chinoy as part of PPP's campaign for the 2024 general elections, the former foreign minister called for new ideas and leadership to calm political and economic instability. Bhutto Zardari plans to tap into widespread anger, saying he has a concrete plan to provide free electricity and boost social safety programs despite fiscal constraints.
We are facing a perfect storm of crises. The economic crisis that we're facing is one of the worst in our history. The security challenges that we're facing risk pushing Pakistan back to far more difficult time when we used to have terrorist attacks every other day across the country. As far as the geopolitical challenges in this part of the world is concerned, that poses a whole other set of challenges. And within that context, I don't think we have time to waste on politics as usual.
A large gas explosion rocked Mongolia's capital city of Ulaanbaatar on Wednesday, sending fire sparks flying into the area. The footage was taken from the window of an apartment building. At least 6 people were killed, including 3 firefighters, after the truck carrying 60 tons of liquefied natural gas exploded, according to Mongolia's emergency officials. At least 11 people were injured in the fire, Mongolia's emergency management office said in a post on Facebook. More than 600 firefighters and 100 vehicles were involved in putting the fire out, which was eventually extinguished. German train drivers began the longest strike in the nation's modern history that will last until Monday, affecting both freight and passenger transport services in the country. The strike is the latest in a series of walkouts over working hours, conditions and pay. Industry experts have estimated that the strike will cost Europe's biggest economy up to $110 million per day and warned of the reputational damage to German business. The GDL trade union which includes train drivers and other rail workers, has said it was forced into the strike after bosses at the national rail operator tried to trick the workers over their demands for improved pay and conditions. eBay will cut about 1,000 jobs, accounting for 9% of its current workforce, the e-commerce retailer said on Tuesday. In a letter shared with employees, eBay CEO Jamie Ionan said that the company's headcount and expenses have exceeded the growth. The job cuts follow a wave of US tech layoffs after the industry hired heavily during the pandemic. All right, a quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. The US Coast Guard has rescued fishermen trapped on an ice floe near Catawba Island in Lake Erie, Ohio, after dozens of people died due to freezing temperatures. In Atlanta, an unhoused man set himself on fire and died under a bridge. Tennessee has recorded 27 deaths related to the Arctic blast since the last week, and public schools in Nashville have cancelled classes for 6 consecutive days. Death toll from a landslide in China's southwestern province of Yunnan has now risen to 31. Over 1,000 rescue workers have been mobilized as they continue to battle extreme cold conditions to rescue the several dozen buried people. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live, former Chief Minister of Bihar, Karpuri Thakur, to be awarded Bharat Ratna posthumously for his unwavering commitment to uplift the downtrodden and his visionary leadership. We will get you glimpses of patriotic musical concerts organized in North India's Jammu and Kashmir Academy of Art, Culture and Languages. And also, you can listen in to inspirational journeys of Indian athletes as Sports Ministry launches Fit India Champions podcast series.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar concluded his Nigeria visit with an address to the Nigeria-India Business Council. The minister said that investment and trade are at the heart of the partnership between the two countries. The minister further pushed for taking ties to a higher level. The event was attended by Nigeria's Ministers of Trade, Budget and Economic Planning, Blue Economy and Steel Development, and the Governor of Nasarawa.
And India is betting on Africa's rise. We are betting on Africa's rise because by any objective assessment, today there is so much going for Africa in terms of demography, in terms of resources, in terms of ambition, in terms of increasingly of policy alignments that clearly portend a very different, a much more positive future in the very short term. For us, the reordering of the world, the rebalancing, the multipolarity of the world will not be complete until Africa takes its due place.
President of the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly, Denis Francis, is on a visit to India from January 22nd to 26th. During his visit, he will engage in talks with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on critical multilateral issues of mutual interest. UNGA President's visit to India represents a unique opportunity to strengthen India-UN ties. Discussions during the visit would include India's call for reforms of the United Nations, particularly the Security Council, to make it more equitable and representative, with a view to enhancing representation of developing countries. Every year on January 24th, India observes National Girl Child Day, a day dedicated to the girl child. The day was initiated by country's Ministry of Women and Child Development in 2008. Since then, every year, the day has been celebrated across India. The Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme was launched on 22nd of January 2015 by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It aims to address the issue of declining child sex ratio. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauded the indomitable spirit and accomplishments of the girl child. In a tweet, he wrote, and I quote him, "On National Girl Child Day, we salute the indomitable spirit and accomplishments of the girl child. We also recognize the rich potential of every girl child in all sectors. They are change makers who make our nation and society better. Over the last decade, our government has been making many efforts to build a nation where every girl child has the opportunity to learn, grow and thrive." Karpuri Thakur, the former Chief Minister of India's Bihar state, will be posthumously awarded Bharat Ratna, the highest civilian award of India. He served as the Chief Minister of Bihar from 1970 to 71 and later in 1977 to 1979. He passed away on February 17, 1988. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi mentioned about Thakur's unwavering commitment to uplift the downtrodden and his visionary leadership that have left an indelible mark on India's socio-political fabric. 2 days after the Pran Pratishta ceremony of Lord Ram in the Indian holy city of Ayodhya, devotees gathered in huge numbers at Rampath to offer prayers to Sri Ram Lalla. Around 1,000 Rapid Action Force Jawans have been deployed inside and outside of the temple to make sure that devotees do not face any difficulty. The 7th edition of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Pariksha Pe Charcha 2024 will be held on 29th of this month. Record number of over 22.6 million students have registered to participate in this edition. Pariksha Pe Charcha is part of the larger movement Exam Warriors, led by Prime Minister to create a stress-free atmosphere for youngsters. India is on a path to become the world's largest producer of lentils in the crop year 2023-24. The projected output this year is around 1.6 million tons. If the projection comes true, the country's lentil output will be the highest since 2017-18 crop year, which was 1.62 million tons. The government is aiming to make India self-sufficient in pulses by December 2027. India is a big importer of the crop. The agricultural crop year in India is from July to June. The Indian toy industry witnessed remarkable growth in 2022-23 in comparison to the financial year 2014-15, with a decline in imports by 52% and rise in exports by 239%. The report, Success Story of Made in India Toys by the Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow and India's Commerce Ministry, highlighted that in a span of 6 years, the number of manufacturing units have doubled, reducing imports from 33% to 12% with an overall rise in labour productivity. The report also stated that the government efforts have enabled the creation of a more conducive manufacturing ecosystem for the Indian toy industry. It emphasised that India is emerging as a top exporting nation due to the country's integration into the global toy value chain. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India now. North India's Jammu and Kashmir Academy of Art, Culture and Languages organised a patriotic musical concert at Tagore Hall in Srinagar on Tuesday. Many renowned artists performed at the concert. A special divine book hamper has been introduced by India's Chennai book publisher on the occasion of Ram Temple Pran Pratishta to learn more about Lord Ram. The book hamper has a specially crafted kit containing 20 essential items and books in illustrated form as a wallpaper, along with a tic-tac-toe game. Indian women's team will face Poland in the inaugural edition of the FIH Hockey 5S Women's World Cup in Muscat. The Indian team is led by experienced goalkeeper Rashni Etimarpu, while defender Mahima Chaudhary is the vice-captain. The Indian women's team is included in Pool C alongside the US, Poland and Namibia. The Netherlands, Malaysia, Fiji and hosts Oman are in Pool A, while Australia, South Africa, Ukraine and Zambia are in Pool B. Group D consists of New Zealand, Uruguay, Thailand and Paraguay. World Cup will take place from 24th to 27th of January. The Indian men's hockey team will take on France in the four-nation tournament in Cape Town city of South Africa on Wednesday. The week-long tournament features France, Netherlands, India and the hosts South Africa. In the earlier match, India thrashed France 4-0 as Harmanpreet Singh scored a brace. Lalit Upadhyay and vice-captain Hardik Singh also scored 1 goal each. India will play the hosts South Africa on 26th of January and will finish the tour with a match against Netherlands on 28th of January. A flagship program of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, the Fit India Mission, is all set to launch the Fit India Champions podcast series. It is being launched in partnership with GOQI, a major stakeholder in the fitness sector that proactively manages health through its digital and multimedia technology. The series will showcase the remarkable accomplishment and inspiring stories of India's sporting heroes. The episodes start from January 27th. The national armless archer Sheetal Devi, who took the 2023 Asian Para Games in Hangzhou by storm with her gold-winning feat on debut, will feature in the opening episode. World and Olympic javelin champion Neeraj Chopra, who will be number two in this enviable list of speakers, has revealed unknown sides from his professional career and the twists and turns in his life as a youngster. India's western state of Maharashtra leads the medal tally at the 6th Khelo India Youth Games, closely followed by Tamil Nadu, while Haryana and Delhi are at the 3rd place. Maharashtra has bagged 14 golds, 15 silvers and 16 bronze medals. The Games has witnessed participation of over 5,600 young athletes in 26 sports. That includes archery, athletics and badminton. It will culminate on 31st January. India's southern state of Tamil Nadu is hosting the Games. All right, that's it in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.
In a world that never stops